All right, we are live.
Live. Anything you say is on the internet. Be warned. Live.
All right, so let's get this thing shared out.
Should I have the second beer ready to go?
Go ahead, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Take a second.
Looks okay on the phone, so I think it's going through.
Good.
I turn away for 2 seconds and it's 3-1. Phillies down.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Get in there, thank you, sir.
I think I'm more likely to get a copyright strike if I do live play-by-play of the baseball game, aren't I?
Gonna try to get on everything that I can. Well, it's nice because we can be on one and YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, all kinds of different things, and kind of all of them. So it's pretty nice.
Jeff Norman is watching, and he's watching.
Oh, he's live.
And he's watching on his phone.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why he doesn't turn left.
Jeff, quit using our blend.
This is so meta. You get to hear how much delay we have.
Oh, that's hilarious. All right, let's get this thing started. I feel like the level's going up, down, whatever, but I think we're good. We've got 2 bars at the moment. We've got a couple people on there. All right. You guys ready to get things going?
Do it.
Let's do it. So take these down.
Crack a beer and join John and Mr. Steve as they explore the people, places, and brews of the craft beer world. You are now entering the Might Be Brews podcast.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Might Be Brews, episode 75. My name is John. With me, as always, Mr. Steve. How you doing tonight?
John, we got baseball back.
Baseball.
The Masters was on last weekend. Sixers playoffs on Saturday. It's springtime. It's beautiful.
It's a good time to be a sports fan, for sure. Guys, just a reminder for everyone, Might Be Brews has officially started our own podcast feed, so make sure you look out for that. If you're watching, please find our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and more. But if you're listening, you can also go back and rewatch our live streams anytime on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. We've got a website, mightbebrews.podbean.com, and help us out with our algorithms. Find our show, press play, subscribe, rate, share, all of that. It would be a huge help. So thank you for that. Today's guest, guys, we are here in beautiful Avondale, Pennsylvania at Here Brewing Company. We've got to my left here, Dan. How you doing, Dan?
Good. I'm doing great. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you so much for setting this up and having us here. I really appreciate it. And we've got Bob as well. Bob, how you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for having us. So, guys, tell us, there's so much that I want to unpack here because I think there's a lot of storylines that I see when I look into Be Here Brewing, right? So first things first, I want to talk about this beer because I've been sipping on this beer a little bit before we got the show started. This Dunkel is fantastic, and I feel like it's just fantastic. It's perfect, and I don't want to stop drinking it. Like I kind of just want a glass to somehow magically refill. I really don't want it to end. So can you tell us anything about the beer as far as maybe what, anything that you found in the recipe or something like that that you guys like about it?
So it's a beer that I really like personally as well. And I try and make beers for everyone, all different tastes. But when I find one that I really like, it really makes me feel good when other people like it too.
Sure.
So the Dunkel is one that I made for many years as a home brewer. It's such a nice balanced beer. It's extremely easy to drink.
Mm-hmm.
It's smooth, yet it has a nice full flavor.
Yep.
The other thing that's surprising about it is how many people will say, "Oh no, I don't like dark beers," and then we'll say, "Have a taste of this," and they'll taste the Dunkel and they say, "I like that.
Yeah.
It doesn't taste like a dark beer, like dark beers usually
Right.
taste." So that's one of the other things that we really like about it. It's a beer that you can actually introduce people to a dark beer who might have otherwise been turned off to that whole class of beers.
Sure.
I feel like you could even rope in the guys that might stop in here and be like, I like Yingling Lager. What do you have that's like that? Because this is, I might say it's like Big Brother, but it's definitely got that malty character that I think somebody would be able to identify and taste that it's different and it's not the same, but still find something of understanding equal ground. That was a very bad end to that sentence. I got in that sentence. I couldn't get out.
It's all right. I get that way all the time.
Pull the cord.
So I feel like it's one of those things where it's obviously light, but it's got this great body. So it doesn't feel like it's thin or missing anything. It's got such a good body to it that it's just delicious. I love this thing. So I just wanted to talk about that right off the bat. So I don't know which one of you guys wants to go first, but anytime that we have a new guest, we ask this question of take us back to that first craft beer experience that you had that got you excited about beer in a different way, that it wasn't those traditional, those old school, whatever. It wasn't like a regular Miller Lite, Bud Light kind of thing. You had this beer and you were like, holy crap, beer is different than I thought it was. Do you guys have any memories like that?
Let's take a trip through history over here.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say I wanted to hear Dan's answer to this because Dan grew up at a time when craft beer was exploding, whereas I largely predated craft beer.
Right.
I'm an old guy, and so what beers did I drink? Well, even going back to college and just after college, I still then gravitated towards richer, maltier beers. Believe it or not, Miller made a dark beer that you could buy in some, sometimes you could never find it. I could never find it in bottles or cans, but some bars had it. And I went to Penn State, and then couple of the bars at Penn State had it, and that was what I started drinking up there. That led me really to exploring, even before craft beer became a big thing,
Sure.
a lot of German beers. And for a long time, if I was going to splurge and not just buy the cheapest beer I could buy, I would go towards the German beers. And I liked Lowenbrau Dark. I liked Beck's Dark even better. And I liked St. Pauli Girl.
Nice.
So those dark beers kind of led me to sort of be open to a large range of styles. And when craft beers started to show up on the U.S. beer scene, I was trying everything I could. And really just have to give a shout out to the original Dock Street.
Yeah.
Before they sort of disappeared and then were sort of reborn.
Mm-hmm.
Dock Street made just a fantastic amber back in the day. And those were the beers that I was gravitating towards then, besides still sort of looking forward every year to Oktoberfest and getting the Oktoberfest beers that were imported. as well as the Christmas beers a couple months later then.
Yeah, back in the day, it used to not be craft beer; it was almost imports. You'd see the menu split up, domestic and imports, and the imports would be where you'd go to find something just different. As you're talking about Dock Street, what year are we talking about Dock Street?
I'm gonna say
Mid '90s.
no,
Before that?
no. Well
You're
before
going before that.
Yeah, mid '80s. Yeah, before. So they disappeared for a while,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And then thankfully have come back. But they were one of the breweries that had been around for a long time and started to move towards craft.
Nice. So, Dan, what about you? Tell us back to your first craft beer.
Yeah, I
experience.
mean, he said that I grew up during craft beer, but craft beer has really exploded in the past 10,
Sure.
15 years.
Yep.
And I learned to hate beer first, I guess. I mean,
Okay.
I was drinking all the bad stuff in college, the Beast Light. And so I drank a lot of bad beer and had to gain an appreciation for that. You drink enough of it and it starts to go down a little easier.
Right.
I think I got a 6-pack in the dorms. You know, I was still under 21 at the time. Somebody got me some Kill. I drank it and I said, "Wow, this is not bad." And I think that was that beer could be an enjoyable. Yeah, from there, stealing and basically stealing all his German beers out of the mini fridge.
Nice. So, at some point, I'm sure you guys decided to, or I guess, tell us what it was like. Who got into brewing first, and how did that kind of evolve?
Well, my story for homebrewing is, I think it's a good one because I can blame my wife for getting me into all of this.
Okay.
So
That's rare. That's
yeah,
unique.
it is.
That's a pleasant surprise.
Yeah.
25 years ago, she decided that, this looks like a fun hobby for Bob. And for my birthday, I believe it was one year, 1997, 25 years ago, she bought me a starter kit. And my brother, who lives up in Westchester, had been doing some homebrew for a while. And so I got this homebrew kit. It was, the basic kit. It had, a couple of buckets for fermenters and for transfers, and came with liquid malt extract, the concentrated extract, along with a little bit of dry malt extract, a little packet of hops, and a little packet of yeast. And I started. And so for the first couple of years, I would do 6 or 8 batches a year. And then every year I wanted to try something different. I wanted to expand. I wanted to get into different flavors. I went to grain, kept trying different hops. And so I was homebrewing for 22 years.
Oh, wow.
While I had another career prior to being here. And during that time, I feel like I learned an awful lot. I had some good beers. I had some bad beers. And, the ones that I liked, I brewed again and again. And as I started to think about retirement from that day job, I started to think about, this is something I could see doing on a small scale as a retiree. And so then I started to think more about reproducibility. Can I make the same beer, every year, couple times a year, and really duplicate it?
Consistent, right?
Can I get the consistency? And that was sort of the next step to really feeling like I was ready to do something like this. And then how we ended up being in starting our own brewery here, our own brew pub. I'm going to let Dan tell the story of how he came to learn about this building that we're located
Yeah, sure.
in, because it is a beautiful building.
Yeah, that's one of the things I'd like to know is, when did that decision happen that you guys wanted to open a place, and why here? How did you end up here?
So a little bit about my craft experience.
Yeah.
Because I never did really any of the brewing or anything like that, but I did work at Victory. Started in Kennett Square in 2015, and that really kind of exploded my craft beer knowledge.
Sure.
And I owe a lot of everything. I mean, their beer education program was actually really good. And I went into it farther than anybody else was. When we do like Beer Jeopardy, I was always the people pick because I knew everything.
Nice.
But I was in retail and I did a lot of the behind the scenes, moving the kegs around, receiving. We were doing 75 to 100 kegs a week we'd receive. So getting a lot of experience with the logistics, learning more about the market, learning what people liked. And I did do a little bit of brewing. I brewed once there at Victory, but that's not really my thing. I'm doing more of the marketing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
As far as how we ended up here, it was kind of a random thing that happened where we went out looking. We were going to make some mushroom soup. And we heard about the Bashiani mushroom farm that they sold on site. So we ended up going there. And I went with my partner, Mar, who also works with us here. And I basically told her, look, we need to get out of here quickly. Don't tell them who you are. Let's get in. Let's get out. And we walked in the door and they said, who are you? Who are you? Who's your parents? And she said, Cindy Strangari. And it just, oh my God. They knew her and they invited us in. They gave us all the mushrooms we wanted for free and gave us hoodie. And sitting there and they're giving us the spiel of the mushroom operation. They're like, what do you think about a brewery in Avondale? It's like, brewery in Avondale. And we grew up here. I lived here for over 25 years almost. Oh, well, more than
Almost 30.
Almost 30 years we've been in the area. And Avondale has always been just kind of a dull. There was never anything here. So that idea of having a brewery was kind of ridiculous to me.
Right.
But then I got on Google Maps and I started looking in this area. And between here and where I went to elementary school, there's now 5 or 6 new developments.
Okay.
And on top of that, in every direction, there's new developments. So the area is growing. And the building is really cool in itself. It's a historical building. And it just kind of happened that way.
So somebody put it in your head that Avondale would be a cool place.
Yeah.
And
we were actually looking. He was looking on 41 at the time, so we were looking on this road.
Yep.
And he looked at a property about 1 mile or 2 miles from here that is now storage. They leveled the entire thing.
Oh, really?
It would have been like $1 million renovation to get the building operational. So we were looking Avondale, trying to stay centered to where he lives, and it just ended up being perfect.
so what was this place before? And what actually went into turning it into a brew pub?
So I'll talk about the history of the building. He can talk about the construction because he did all of that stuff. I was still working at Victory at the time, but the building was built in 1895. It was the original, or the second location of the Bank of Avondale.
Okay.
And over the course of its existence as a bank, changed names many times. It was Southeastern National Bank and Sovereign Bank when it closed. Then it was just empty building. A natural food store came in here and renovated the entire place. They had a bakery in where our brewery is.
Okay.
And the space that you're in now was basically all grocery.
Okay.
They had a cafe in the front room and a smoothie bar.
Yep.
And I'll leave it there so he can talk about how it was.
Yeah.
flipped.
Okay.
So when Dan told me that he had met the Bashianis and that they were looking to rent out this building and had the idea that it would be a good location for a brewery, I'm not sure that Avondale's the right place for this. As he said, I was looking places where I thought I could open something on a small scale. And honestly, I wasn't thinking as big as this. I was thinking more in the lines of maybe a 2 to 3.5 barrel system, more of a than a brew pub. I wasn't really interested in getting a game, but something on a small scale.
We hear that a lot.
Yeah.
And so then he tells me about meeting the Bashianis, who own this building, and in fact they own the post office next door. They own all the parking in the back here, and I came over and I met them, and one of the guys brought me over to see the building, And immediately just walking around outside, and you see this beautiful stone facade,
Mm-hmm.
and the fact that it's on the main street of Avondale, Pennsylvania Avenue, which is part of Route 41 and gets a lot of traffic.
Sure.
It's like, wow, talk about visibility. But the flip side of that is that in the back, you've got this huge parking area,
Mm-hmm.
which we share with the post office. Well, you think about a post office, whatever, 8 o'clock until 5 o'clock,
Right.
And they're done.
and they're done.
They're out of there.
And they're not here, Saturday afternoons, Saturday evenings. They're not here Sunday.
Right.
So
That's a
it's
perfect
like-
schedule.
It's a great complementary schedule to have post office and brew pub, and right in the middle of town.
Mhm.
I looked at the building, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is big. It's like, it was a lot of square footage. Now, you ask me about it now, 4 years later, and I'd say, oh, I wish I was bigger. I wish I had more space for this. Wish I had more space for that. But it was bigger than I was looking for at the time. But it was just too good to pass up.
Sure.
And so we looked at the building. The natural food store that had been in here a few years never really took off.
Mhm.
For whatever reason, I'm not even totally clear, but it never took off. And so the Bashianis who own the building gave the guy a few years to give a good run at it, and then finally just said, okay, we're pulling the plug. And that's when they were looking at perhaps a brewery or a brew pub here. And so we went into this looking at the building as it was as a food store, where this main room that we're in right here was a lot of shelves, a checkout area of wood counters, a juice bar and breakfast bar in where our kitchen is, and started to think about how to lay things out. And having that kitchen was a huge advantage, because it turned out the borough and the borough council at the time was really interested in somebody doing something with this building. But a few of the members of the council were not very supportive of a bar.
Sure.
They wanted a restaurant and a bar. Bar and restaurant, fine. Bar.
I'm going to just add that those people never were in here. So, and they're not in the council anymore, so they don't mean anything.
Sure. Right.
So we looked at the kitchen and said, okay, we can do something with this. And they had actually upgraded it quite a bit when they put it in. When the last bank moved out, they had a nice hood put in. They had, plenty of space there for what we need. The behind Dan over on this side, there's one of the original vaults was converted into a walk-in cooler. That's our kitchen's walk-in cooler. We have an even more beautiful vault in the main room in the front, which is worth seeing if you haven't.
Yeah, I
seen
saw
it
the vault
already.
door
It
right
is
behind the wall
amazing.
there. That's awesome. I got to give a shout out to Craig here in the chat, because he said he did the internet install here a while ago, and he thought that the walk-in safe was awesome, and somebody here tipped him a heady topper.
Craig, we're having a little bit of internet issues. Could you do some back end something?
Yeah. But I just want to give Craig a shout out. He's a great buddy.
I did give him
watching the show.
heady topper.
Yeah, you remember?
Yeah.
Yep, that's awesome.
I saw that comment and I was like, why is Craig putting their safe out on blast? Like,
Yeah.
why are we talking about their safe, Craig? Like, oh, but I didn't know that it was a bank. So that is pretty cool.
Yeah. So as Dan said, the area where our brewery, the small brewery was formerly a bakery. Part of it was a bakery for the natural food store. That meant, and everything was electric. Surprisingly, they didn't have, even with natural gas running right down the main street here, they didn't have gas installed to the building.
Sure.
So everything was electric. That meant they had a huge amount of electric going into that building, which was perfect for me with an electric brew house.
Yep.
So started to lay things out, decided from the very beginning, we want the brewery to be visible. We want glass doors, glass walls. You can see it from this area we're eating. We wanted the brewery vibe.
Sure.
We didn't want to tuck it away, and we wanted people to be able to see it. And the other main thing then was, okay, well, the keg cooler. And there was a whole bank of refrigerator cases along that wall. And it's like, well, we really can't use them.
Right.
And so I was looking into, these prefab or modular units for the walk-in cooler and calculated, well, what do we need to be big enough for 100 kegs? And that's what we started with. It's 26 feet by 8 feet and 8 feet tall. It was modular. A bunch of friends of mine came in one Saturday after it was delivered, and we put it all together, and it was one of the most fun things. And the nice thing about having a walk-in cooler right there as part of the bar is that the taps just come right through the wall of the cooler. The kegs are right on the other side. A keg kicks, and easy enough for one of the bartenders to just go around the back and switch the keg real quick. And we don't have long lines. We don't have to deal with anything like that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I do want to mention that our architect is actually here. I don't know if you know this, but Jeff Norman was the architect for Be Here.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Jeff's a great buddy of ours.
There he is. Right there.
Yeah, there he is. But yeah, he's fantastic, and that's really cool. So yeah, I knew he was an architect, but I didn't know that he helped out here. So that's really cool. So looking at the bar there, how did did you guys build that bar and design that bar?
Yeah. So actually, that's one of the things I'm most proud of in terms of renovations, because I kind of did a lot of the design. It was very important to me to be able to have. I mean, I was told it was required, but it was also important to me emotionally to have an accessible area. And so building that in, that like a natural part of the bar with the reduced height seating, and our little doorway into the bar can flip down, that if somebody's in a wheelchair, they can sit right there. And having that be part of the bar and yet still look like a very natural part of it was one thing I was very happy about. And the other thing is that it is largely a recycled bar. Now, the wood for framing underneath, the structure underneath the bar, that comes from Lowe's up the street here.
Sure.
And I'll tell you, if you're going to do a major renovation for something like a brew pub or a restaurant or anything, if you can do it within a mile of a Lowe's, you're in good shape, right?
That sounds really nice. Just being able to anytime you need.
Yeah, 3 trips a day when we're doing the construction. But the other thing that's really neat about the bar is it is a recycled bar.
Okay.
And if you look at the surface of the bar top, a big piece of that came from the juice bar that was part of the natural food store. Another piece came from the checkout area, and we were able to repurpose that knotty pine, get it refinished to get a nice shiny gloss on it. And then the front of the bar, the corrugated metal, is old roofing from mushroom houses that the Bascianis had.
Oh, wow.
So we have a recycled bar, and I think it kind of fits with one of the things we believe in very strongly. We are very conscious of the environment. We try and, I try and minimize my water use. Brewing uses a lot of water.
Mm-hmm.
I capture everything I can in terms of the effluents. We have our spent grain goes to a local farmer who feeds it to his pigs and his sheep and goats. So we minimize putting into the waste stream, and we try and use and recycle as much as we can. We've stayed away from, with the restaurant, with the food service, we've stayed away from, styrofoam and things like that, even when it cost us a lot more. And the pandemic didn't help us out with, takeout food and things like that. All those containers became much more expensive.
Oh, yeah.
Don't use plastic bags for packaging the food, paper. So we try and be very environmentally conscious. And I think that the appearance of our bar kind of fits with that whole vibe of doing what's right.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's such a cool story to hear something like that about the bar. It just makes you want to go up to it right now and sit there and have a beer. And I love that the just how well it all goes together with the cooler, with all that stainless up there, and also the stainless look on the front of the bar. So it's a very good look. I just love the way everything goes together.
Clean.
It's very clean, very nice. Yeah, that's awesome.
We started sipping on a second beer here. What's our second beer we've got here?
You're drinking the Watercrest IPA there.
Watercrest.
It is a West Coast IPA.
Mosaic, juicy West Coast style. Yeah, I mean, of course, I could smell right away when I took a sip of it that it was a hoppy beer, but it's
I
fantastic.
figure more of the people you're listening to are more hop and malt heads.
It's a decent mix.
I'd like
of
to
what
think
we
so.
get.
70,
I think there's-
30. No, it's,
Of what we get of our guys. We got a lot of. We
how
definitely
many-
got some
how many
pills and
yeast
lagers.
people
heads.
are out there, though?
There's not a lot of yeast people out there. There are some malt heads.
Yeah.
We did find some malt heads and be into talking malt.
Yeah. Okay.
We do get the feeling that lagers are coming back and that more and more people are excited about them or enjoying them and they're on more menus. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I kind of feel like people are starting to go after those a little bit more. So I don't know.
We kind of talked about this with the last brewery that we talked to. How much of the current IPA fad being a strong word, how about the craze that we went through was just because of space and equipment limitations that brewers had, where a lot of them just kicking out these IPAs because you get them through the tanks quicker, you clear out your space and you're ready to make another beer. Do you guys think about that kind of stuff when you're saying, I got to get this lager in? I know it's going to take us a little bit more time than these IPAs do.
So I try and balance the schedule to do a lager, maybe have one lager in a tank pretty much at all times, either, fermenting or in the bright tank to lager. And, different times a year, it's easier or harder to do that. When we opened and we were, sort of up against, we wanted to get open as quickly as we could. One of our flagship beers, our London Grove Lager, was actually a London Grove Golden Ale when we started. And not that I have a lot of thanks to the pandemic, but that did slow our schedule down a bit and let us go back to doing the London Grove Gold as a lager instead of an ale, and having those extra, 4 or 5 weeks to condition it. And it is a better beer as a lager. Golden Ale is good, but a golden lager just has that crispness. It's not quite a Helles, but it has that crispness that you really like to get in a lager. And so we, like I said, I try and balance the schedule. The one thing that I wanted to say is that the Dunkel, which technically is a lager, the reason I'm able to do that one and turn it around very quickly is I use a California common yeast on that. And
Okay.
so it ferments at a normal ale temperature, but it has many of the profiles of a lager, and it doesn't have to sit in the tanks for a long time.
Nice.
So that's a very favorable beer there too, as well. And I know other breweries that do something similar, but I really like this one yeast that I use for the California Common.
Mhm.
And it's not a very, well-known brand. I'll say this too. I'm brewing it, most of my batches, 5 barrels. Sometimes I'll do a little bit smaller. I have the capacity to do double batching. But with things having slowed down again because of the pandemic, we haven't had much of a need to do double batches. But with the smaller batches that I do, even up to 5 barrels, I'm able to use a variety of different sources of yeast. And I can still, it's like I can still use the homebrew packets of yeast.
Right.
If I need to, because a 5-barrel batch, it's 30 packets of yeast.
Sure.
It's not unreasonable to deal with.
Yeah.
What year did you guys actually open?
So we opened on Black Friday in 2019.
So you were 4 months,
Three.
It was 3 months.
3 months before
Yeah.
the world went away.
Yeah.
So what is that like? We've talked to a couple brewers and breweries. Yeah, that had the same kind of thing where they were opening,
Well, let me
months
tell you this.
before.
Actually, the month that we opened was probably peak beer in Pennsylvania because we were the 19th of 19 breweries to open in the month of November. It was the most ever that has ever opened in Pennsylvania in 1 month. And do you think we'll ever open 20 breweries in a month in Pennsylvania ever again?
I don't know. I don't see how.
Yeah.
But that's wild.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you have this great opportunity. You find this great space. You're very excited to take this next step and do your own thing and start a brewery. And 3 months later, you get, kicked in the sack pretty much with the pandemic. What's that like?
Well, you try and roll with it, right?
Sure.
And the first thing you think is, well, at least I'm not going to run out of beer.
Yeah, right.
I'm going to have plenty of beer, and Dan's going to have plenty of beer.
What a good attitude to have. I like that.
Yeah.
It's like, well, at least.
I'll be set for a couple months.
Yeah. Oh, that's
So,
funny.
we had like I said, we opened on Black Friday. We had a tremendous December. That we felt so in Avondale. So we had a great reception, and of course, December is such a great month. Everybody's getting together to party. We'll see that again this year, I hope. People are getting together to party. People are celebrating, and it was just a tremendous month. I mean, whoa, over the top. It's like we knew that was December, and we knew that January was going to be a big difference, and it was. But January was still good, and February was still good. But towards the end of February, the signs were, the handwriting was on the wall. And by the second week of March, of course, we were shut down. It's like, what do we do now? And it's like everybody was in the same spot, and it was takeout only.
Mm-hmm.
And we said, well, we didn't do takeout. We hadn't gotten to the point of getting our own growlers. We didn't have a growler machine. We hadn't even done much in the way of takeout food. A couple people would call and say, can I get the food to go?
Just
like,
Nick. We had Nick. Thank you, Nick. One, he's not here.
So we didn't have much in the way of takeout. And it's like, all of a sudden, it's like pivot. How can you do this? And like I said, everybody, every restaurant, every bar was suddenly trying to buy growlers and bags and clamshell things for takeout and all that. And fortunately, we were able to do that. And we had to shift what we were doing for a while. And we didn't have our own growlers, so we were filling other people's growlers. But, people were dropping off growlers they'd had. Everybody's got their collection of growlers, right?
Yeah.
Hey, if you have any spare growlers in your garage, it's like drop them off. We'll clean them up good, and we'll send them along with somebody who wants to take some beer home. And then a couple months, a month or so later, we got our own just plain unbranded growlers, and we were able to get the growler machine a few months after that. And so the takeout was mostly it was Dan. Dan was doing a lot of running stuff from inside the building to a bank. What does a bank have? It has a drive-up lane, right? It has a drive-up. Well, we don't have the drive-up window anymore.
I was thinking of the thing
Yeah.
for the money.
Just put a
growler in there. And
Can I
Across the
try? Can I try the hazy?
Yeah.
So this
that's
drive-up
funny.
lane was perfect
Yeah.
for curbside service, with takeout. And fortunately, it was about 4 months. We were takeout only. And then the other thing that sort of helped us tremendously was that along with the building, there's a relatively nice size side yard here. And it was always my dream to have a beer garden. And, because we opened in November, it wasn't a high priority to get things ready for out there. We did fence it in. We put up a fence. And then suddenly in June, we've been telling you you're not going to be open for a while, but we're going to let you have outdoor seating. So suddenly we had to scramble to get our outside area approved, inspected and approved, and built a bunch of picnic tables in a couple of days, and we were open outside.
He built all the tables.
So,
Really?
With a friend's help, we built 10 picnic tables in about 3 days. And actually, I spent a good bit of today and yesterday, building a couple more tables. We're thinking positively that the outdoor season is going to be a good one here, and we want to have more people having spaces to sit outside here because it is nice. Beer gardens are something I've always loved.
Oh,
And it was
absolutely.
always something that if I was going to have a building where I was going to have a brewery and a tap room or a tasting room, it had to have something for a beer garden.
Yeah, that's awesome. I did a little walk around here before we started the show, and I saw that space out there, and it's just so nice with that fence there and the lights and the tables, and I don't know, your grass looks perfect for some reason. It just looks awesome.
It's a rare thing. We haven't walked much out there. There's
Yeah,
not so many,
right. Yeah, there hasn't been a lot of steps in the last few months on the grass, but it looks fantastic. It just looks like a great spot.
It's always like that. The weather is always perfect. It's a bubble here.
Yeah,
It's
right.
like the 72 always.
Yeah, right.
There's
That'd be
always a little
nice.
breeze.
Do you guys allow dogs in the outdoor area?
I was just going to say, and we're dog friendly, and I can't tell you how many people have thanked us for that. You know, it's like bring your furry friend along, and they can sit at the table, and we bring a dish of water out for a bowl of water out for them. And Dan can talk a little bit about our connection with one of the local animal rescues that's sort of grown out of that.
We got connected with this new animal rescue in Avondale called Lucky Dog, and actually adopted a dog through them. So we have a puppy. We've done some fundraising for them. I don't really want to get into it. You can do your own research, but we did a poop and flinging. Just Google it.
I saw that. I saw.
Yeah, I actually I tried to get you to come out to the poop and flinging.
Yeah, you sent me a link for it.
Yeah.
I didn't know exactly what it was, and then you guys had a good trailer for it.
Yeah, it was essentially my efforts at getting people to drink outside in February. And so I invented this sport that's basically like elimination cornhole with fake dog poops, which I made out of spent grain.
Nice.
So
yeah,
they end up being great
baggy.
dog treats at the end of the fling.
Yeah.
And we have the fling. The fling king is actually here. There he is. Zach McCrae is our fling king. He was the winner. He won. We raised a whole bunch of money for Lucky Dog. And
nice.
We're gonna do it next year. So
well, that's awesome.
Excited for the poop and flinging round 2.
Yeah, that's so cool. It's interesting to see people come up with like new ideas like that.
That was totally COVID frustration and being in the holidays and seeing this numbers spike and how are we gonna get people to drink in February, and it's just crazy.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
It's definitely nice to have that little dog-friendly area out there. That's a good way to get my wife to come down. If you have food
Well,
and you have a dog
I wouldn't
area,
say that about your wife.
she will bring a dog anywhere.
Yeah, if the
My
dog's
dog.
involved and the food's involved. So somebody hopped in the chat there. I think it was Fish, wasn't it? He said, dare I ask, have you attempted a mushroom variant beer? Have you put mushrooms in a beer yet?
We have not.
Okay.
And
You thinking about it? There was a
hasn't.
big hesitation.
I've thought about it. It's like, okay, when do I have time to make a 5-gallon batch at home and see how this really
Right.
is? Because I've heard stories, you know, people using mushrooms in beers, and it's either so bad you don't even want to take a second sip, or people say, oh, it's interesting.
Sure. But it's never like, wow, this
is good.
Why is this not more popular?
They
Right?
did make one at Kennett Victory as one of their experimental beers, and it was kind of like a maltier Oktoberfest beer that they had made kind of like a mushroom tea out of.
Okay.
So it wasn't like the way that I would think about it is more of a stout, like an earthy beer, because of how robust a mushroom flavor can be. But no, this was more of a lighter,
Okay.
mushroom tea.
I think at Kennett Brewfest, didn't the Bomb Homebrewers do one?
Maybe they did.
I think it was like a brown ale.
They might have.
I might be making that up because sometimes at the end of Brewfest,
There are many other ingredients.
It's hard to remember
than mushrooms. Like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Well, the other thing that popped in my head when he said mushroom was your guys' food menu, because I know you've got the mushroom cheesesteak. So try to tell us a little bit about your kitchen, what you guys are trying to put out to people, and what people can expect if they come here to get food with their beer.
Yeah. So like we didn't want to do food, right?
Right.
But we ended up there's the marketplace in Kennett Square. I don't know if you've been there. And you go in and there's different food options, and so Bob training, and I their Lebanese place. I want some you can get a falafel Carlos opened a place called Rump Roasters, which is like roasted. So, just Mexican and Mediterranean and sandwich. I mean, in it's all pub food.
Sure.
So food, but we basically can we approach him and see if he wants to do our kitchen, and that's what happened. So this guy
Nice.
Carlos runs our kitchen, and we try to keep it small. I mean, it's
but it's all stuff.
Our menu keeps growing and then scaling back, and it's entirely to do with food costs and labor costs, and we like to do everything. Everything is made in house. We hand bread our chicken, we hand cut our fries, and our beef dip sandwich. If you try it, you might have meatgasm.
I like that.
There's weird.
Don't
read the reviews about the dip. You might.
No, but I don't know. Beef dip is fantastic.
Yeah.
So that's awesome to see
That
on the
is-
menu. Fries, of course.
Look, that beef dip sandwich, it might be the best sandwich you've ever had in your life.
Wow. What time is it? It's too late.
It's too late.
It's too late. You tried to get me to try
I
food
honestly
He
tried.
did try.
5-6 times, and I
Tried
said I was
twice.
full, and now, now you're,
regret it.
now I'm going to regret
Are
it.
you
But you know
ready
what
for-
that means? We're just going to come
Year
back.
3. You're just ready. You're gonna liquid lunch.
Yeah, liquid lunch it.
And the mushrooms, you mentioned the mushroom cheesesteak.
Yep.
That is a sandwich which, again, blows people away because they say, I can't believe this is just mushrooms.
Yeah.
That there's no meat. I mean, and we actually have to tell people, yeah, it says cheesesteak, but there's no meat.
Yep.
And then they have it, and it's like, oh my God, this is so good. These mushrooms are great. They're portobello mushrooms. We get them as fresh as you can possibly get them.
I'm
we
sure.
go right to where they pack them. They're picked that morning, and then,
They're steaming when we cook them.
and that's just a wonderful sandwich too. So as Dan said, I think I said too, we didn't really want to get into food, but of course for the pandemic, having food was almost a requirement,
Our
right?
food
Yep,
saved
you
us.
had to. Yeah.
You couldn't have people on site if they weren't also having a meal. And so, in retrospect, we're lucky that things worked out the way they did. Carlos has been a great partner in terms of running the kitchen and keeping things current, keeping things fresh, changing things up from time to time. And so, we feel like it hit a really nice balance there of not being the one, being the ones who didn't want to get into the restaurant business, but being able to do it with somebody who really had a lot of experience and people love the food. That being said, this is a line I use all the time when people say, well, how did the pandemic affect you? And it's like, and my little cliche line for that is we opened up as a brewery with food. The pandemic turned us into a restaurant with beer.
Wow. Yeah.
And we still are, in some respects, victims of our own success on the food. But we became Avondale's restaurant. There's not a whole lot to choose from here in the borough. There's a couple places just outside the borough that are good, but you've got a Domino's and a little Chinese restaurant down the street, a Dunkin' Donuts, and for the borough, that's an Earl's Sub Shop across the parking lot, not open in the evenings. So there's not a whole lot to choose from. We became Avondale's restaurant. The community supported us tremendously, and we can't thank them enough. But we really want to get back to being a brewery. We really want to get back to having more of it being about the brewery experience, a little bit less about the restaurant experience. We want to see people in here at this hour of night and even later on the weekends, and get back to, having the focus being on the beer experience, the drinking experience, as opposed to, let's go there for dinner.
Sure. Well, it's nice that you can do both. But I hear you. It'd be nice to have, it'd be nice to, I think with the warmer weather and the pandemic ending, it's just going to be a good timing. And hopefully everybody wants to come back out and everybody wants to spend more time out there. Thank you so much.
I think that's one of the things that's coming back. People are comfortable going to restaurants and having dinner because that's all we were allowed to do. but I don't think people are going out to hang out. They're not going out for drinks as much, but I think that's going to start coming back, especially as it gets warmer and people can hang out in the beer garden and do that kind of thing.
What beer did you just bring us?
That is the Get There From Here. It is the short one is a Imperial Red IPA. The long one is a double dry hop, double New Englandish kind of Imperial Red IPA.
New Englandish.
I mean, yeah. There's a touch of
Red
haze to
IPA.
all our beer. We don't filter
Yep.
any of our beers, so it might be a little not clear. And the Get There From Here is a play on the Landenberg's unofficial motto is you can't get there from here, but this will get you there.
Is it just me, or is there something with the yeast here?
There's definitely a yeast note to it.
Yeah. I'm trying to decide if it's like, are you guys using a different yeast on this or something?
So that's a New England style, a New England yeast.
Okay. Man, it reminds me of like I'm trying to think of what it reminds me of. I don't know for sure if I can put my finger on it.
I don't know if you can put your finger on it either.
So tell me about when you guys are when you guys are getting ready, or you guys are completely lost my train of thought here. But you guys are trying to compete in this space where there's talking about 20 breweries opening up the same month that you guys did. Do you guys feel like the craft beer space in this area is crowded? Is there like a lot of action, or are you guys in a good area where you're kind of from people?
We're in the area. And Kennett, for instance, had Victory and Kennett Brewing Co. open and the Creamery, and it's a little oversaturated at that point. I mean, there's a lot of spots. There's a great place to go, but there wasn't anything. I heard had 2 craft breweries who moved to if you go north, it's Point is kind of a hole here. Who making a lot of our beers.
Sure.
So
Of that because of your area that people are coming in that are kind of craft beer novice, more time educating, or just spending extra time.
Like is a perfect example to tell people that and
provide that experience to people has got to be, I think I've said this before, it's like a musician on stage and you see people, enjoying your tunes, to be able to present your beers to somebody at a bar and have them be like, wow, I can't believe how much I like it, or get that excited about it. It's got to be the best feeling and gratification in the world.
It is, because people who are even a little bit skeptical about whether they will like something.
Sure.
On the other hand, I'm sure every one of the bartenders here, every one of our servers, Dan, Mara, everyone, and thousands of other craft brewery beer tenders, servers around the world have just gritted their teeth every time somebody comes in and says, what do you have that's like Bud Light?
Right.
And how do you answer that question? It's like, well, we don't, but you can try this. And so I mentioned the London Grove Lager because we switched it from an ale. We brewed it as an ale for saving time. Was able to go to a lager, and we've been able to keep it as the lager because it's much better that way. And it's not a light beer. It's not under 100 calories. I can tell you. I don't know what it is, but I can tell you it's not under 100
sure.
calories.
Yeah.
It's not a light beer. But if somebody says, well, that's what I drink, let me, taste it. And it's like, oh, this is good, and you'll get a few of them who like that. And a few of them will go home and they'll just stop on the way home and they'll get their 12 pack or 15 pack or 30
sure.
pack of Bud Light. So what do? You grit your teeth and you say, try this. You might like it.
Do you feel like these days are you being able to and experiment and try new things? Do you feel like you've or do you feel like you've found your handful of flagships, or is it a blend of the two?
It's a blend of the two. I guess one of the things that's difficult for me, and I think Dan and Mara and I talked about this recently, we really need to keep things fresh, really need to keep turning beers over and having a new one. But when you make something that you think, oh, I'm going to make a one of this, and suddenly everybody loves it. The Watercrest IPA was something I made for the first time in September. A little shout out to our friends who have a nursery down Route 1, just at the 796 exit in Jennersville, Watercrest Farms. Bill from Watercrest, a longtime friend, came over with a forklift about 3 years ago, almost to the day. It'll be in another week or two, it'll be 3 years to the day, and unloaded a full trailer full of tanks, the fermenters, the brew house, the bright tanks, and they have a very nice retail and Jenner's a garden party for them and sell beer. And so I knew Watercrest IPA, which I thought was a great name because it's the West Coast IPA and Watercrest is WC.
Yeah.
And suddenly it became the most popular beer. So it's, I guess I'm making it again, and I'm going to make it again. Things like the wit beer, which I don't think you guys have gotten to sample, but the Fool's Gold Wit. Oh, I'll make it, and then I'll make something. Maybe the next time I'll make a Hefeweizen. I'll make something different with wheat. Get people say, oh, you have to make another batch of the Fool's Gold. They love it. So that's where it's a little bit of a challenge to keep new beers coming along, but still to satisfy the people. Say, what? You don't have Avondale Amber right now?
Sure.
So it's a little bit hard, you know, and I think, we want to keep introducing some new beers, but also keep people happy with a range of beers. The one thing that we will never do here, whether I'm the brewer or someone else, the one thing we will never do here is become one of those breweries that has, 6 or 7 different IPAs, an imperial stout, and 1 or 2 other beers. I believe in variety. I believe that there is something to be said for every style of beer. Maybe not a mushroom beer. We'll see about that.
I do like the diversity of the tap list,
So,
for sure.
And that's really what we're going for here. It's like, and the way Dan arranged the menu with, the lights to the darks, the hoppies, it's like, it's just a really good feeling when you can tell people this is the diversity of craft beer. There is so much to choose from. We've thought about putting in more taps than 12 because.
And he wanted 8 to start. So just to put that on record.
Right. You wanted 8, you've got 12, and you want more.
16.
Yeah. You need more than 8.
Yeah, I feel like I'm a newer craft beer follower, right? So when I got into craft beer, I was really going after just hoppy beers, and at the same time, the New England trend was happening, so I was getting more and more of these juicy beers, and I get it. I think that there's a place for it, and it can low IBUs and these juicy profiles can help bring in new craft beer drinkers potentially. But I'm really happy to see diverse tap lists and more people wanting to explore. Because for me, it was at first like anything hoppy, I want to try it, and now it's become the different styles and really exploring and trying to understand maybe the different yeasts and the different grains and the different hop profiles and things like that. So there's so much out there to learn, and it's nice when you have so many different beers on tap that you can really find out a style that you really like that you didn't know. Like I swear it was only a few years ago that I discovered or realized Marzens and Oktoberfests, that it was something that I kind of just overlooked, and then had a really good one and was like, holy crap. And then all of a sudden it's just something you look forward to every year. It's just such a great style and such a fantastic beer. So
I would definitely add to that there is a time and a place for every kind of beer. And if you don't know how to appreciate a certain type of beer, you just haven't been there yet.
Right.
So the
Absolutely.
Sour, fruity beers on a hot summer day, or like an imperial stout on a rainy or a snow day, there's the perfect time and situation to enjoy every style.
See you, Jeff. Shout out Jeff Norman again. Fantastic. I got to tell you, he's not going to hear it now that he walked away, but he did that. I didn't even realize that it was April 1st. And he posted about,
a lot of people didn't.
Yeah. And it was so funny because I posted on there like, thanks for everything, Jeff, in all sincerity. And he messaged me, thanks for playing along. And it even took me another half hour to realize that it was April 1st. I completely missed that one, but such a good guy. He always invites us out to the Brew Fest so we can be a part of that and get to talk to brewers and people in the industry, and it just ends up being such a good time. So we're extremely thankful that for whatever reason he likes us and lets us participate with his events. So that's a good thing.
Do you guys have any events coming up here at the brewery that the people can come out and check out?
Well, we have a comedy event at the end of the month. It's the 29th on a Friday. I have some people coming from all across the country. I've got Eric Marino, and Eddie Brill was a longtime talent coordinator and warm-up act for the Letterman show. 17
Nice.
years he was on there. And actually his son is Dan Madonia. He's more of an up-and-coming comic. So we're doing live stand-up probably once a quarter. We do live music every Sunday, 4 to 7. So we'll do that.
Really nice. I love the tap room space. There's plenty of room in here, but this little this stage here is cool too. So I think it's going to be like a fantastic venue for stand-up and obviously live music.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
that's going to be a really
it's
good
great
space
room.
for that.
It really is great. We've got an Avondale trash cleanup, which we organized. That's happening next weekend. And yeah, a bunch of things here and there.
Where's the best people or the best place for people to find you? Where do you guys
Instagram or
most?
Facebook.
Instagram,
They're
Facebook.
both same, or the website. Do a lot of Google Mapsing.
Yeah.
Google Maps as well.
Out what is it at Be Here Brewing?
Yeah.
Is that what you guys are doing?
Yeah.
Awesome. So we're gonna do a toast of the week before we're done. So if you guys have anything, think about it. Something that you want to toast, or something that you want to burnt toast, to roast if you want to.
We definitely don't want to put out any negative energy.
No negative energy.
No.
All right. Where is there? We go.
Might Be Brews presents the toast of the week.
You want to go first?
Yeah, I'll do mine first. I know you said you didn't want to do anything negative, but this is kind of it's definitely a negative. But we just got to raise our glass for our buddy Devin. His father passed away, and just being around Devin, around his family, you can tell when a guy has come from good roots.
Yeah.
And just watching the way Devin is with his family, I can tell that he came from good roots. I never met his father, but Devin, we're sorry for your loss, and we raise a glass to your pops,
Mr. McNeil.
So hope everything
Cheers.
works out. And
Dad,
if you need anything for us,
That's my
let
dad.
us know.
Yeah, Devin's such a good guy. Great beer friend, and just a great friend, longtime friend altogether. So it was really tough to hear about that. So I'm going to go with another RIP. I'm going to do Gilbert Godfrey. That was every once in a while there's one that just kind of hits you a little bit differently, right? Celebrities and people close to you pass all the time, but Bob Saget kind of sucked, right? Gilbert Gottfried, the same thing. I think, a lot of people consider him a comedian's comedian. That voice, that iconic voice, is just, it's iconic. What else can you say about it? So that was a tough one. So I'm going to give my toast this week to Gilbert Gottfried.
If you haven't watched him at the Hugh Hefner roast from 2001 doing the Aristocrats joke, get thee to YouTube tonight and watch it because it is hysterical.
You guys got anything you want to do?
I definitely want to give it to Mara, who should be here. She's the third part of Be Here. It's me, my dad, and Mara. And we have a 1-year-old, Emmett. But I got a shout out to my Mara and my Emmett.
Yeah, Maura was on the chat.
Is that Maura?
Yeah, I'm assuming unless there's a different Maura.
Probably Mara.
Because if there's two Mauras, that'd be really uncomfortable.
Hey, Maura, shout out Maura. Thanks for everything. You're the best. Bob, you have anything?
Yeah, I just wanted to raise.
We got to toast Maura.
Toast Maura.
Hey.
And Emmett.
Hi, it's me. That's what Maura said.
So I just want to raise a glass to family, because as Dan said, this is, it's Dan, Mara, me, Emmett, a beer named O's Irish Red, and we wouldn't, no pun intended, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for this family part of this business, because it's very important to us to be a family and to welcome families into the brew pub. I always love to see, especially Saturdays and Sundays, when people come in with their kids and we have the high chairs, or they're outside in the beer garden when the weather's nice, all those kids. And it's like, family is part of craft beer. And for us, it's a very close part. And so I just raise a glass to family.
I love that. Well said. Well said, Bob.
We
didn't really get into that. If anybody, I don't think we've mentioned it all yet, but if you haven't figured it out, Dan and Bob, spoiler alert, Dan and Bob are related, father and son. I hear you.
It is the reveal.
Yeah. But guys, I have to say, thank you so much for having us here. This was such a good time. It was so nice to get to know you. We kind of hinted at it a little bit before the show, but I really hope that when people get to understand what you guys do, what you're passionate about, the goals and the things that you have going on, and the things that drive you in your business and in this brewery, people can appreciate it, and people want to come out and support and be a part of that. So that's really our goal, and I hope we can achieve that and bring some more people out. I was telling you, Dan, earlier, there was somebody that messaged like, hey, I didn't know those guys were there. I'm excited to go try them. So that's really cool. Hopefully
we're
we do that.
expecting that one guy.
Yeah.
Whoever that is.
That one guy, Steve D12.
Steve D12.
At Steve D12 or whatever it is.
Find you, Steve D12.
You better come out here and enjoy it.
Tomorrow.
Free mushrooms for you when you get here.
Yeah, that's right. Guys, if you took the time to listen, to watch, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Make sure you're subscribing, following, sharing, all that good stuff. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.
I just